Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our Fiqh Hour. What always amazes me is how our sister manages to put all those questions up even when we haven't gone live. How do you do that? How does that happen? Um, I'm just more curious than anything else. So if you know how that works, how you manage to put questions up before it's live, please do let me know. As I said, as I was going, I normally set up everything, and I was on the phone and I saw your questions appear, but I hadn't even gone live yet. So I thought, how's she doing this? How does she know that I'm sat here with this up? So please do tell me how that works. Anyway, we will jump onto these questions that have been posed here on the YouTube page, and also we'll pick up some that have come in via the Markuz al-Ifta wal Qadha, because we have had some questions come through there. However, the topic for today is about the 4 schools. So let me remember. Okay. So what do you mean by scheduled? Does that mean like, because it's not scheduled, is it? Oh, you mean so when I put it up and it says scheduled, then you can see it. I see. Okay, I got it. Right, let me find the questions. Where are they? There we are. Okay, so the question is this: the 4 schools of fiqh, what are they, and how did they become popular? The reason for this question is because a friend told me, and this is not just specific to this friend, but this is quite common, that he doesn't follow a school of fiqh. The way he finds rulings is by taking the most common opinion amongst the 4 scholars. But he's not a person, and we did actually find out that he is a person. What he meant was he's not a scholar or student of knowledge. As there is, so is there a way to explain it? Why is it important to follow one of the schools of fiqh? Also, should you just follow the one you were born into? So just please ensure that I cover all aspects of that question. Can you also explain? Assalamu alaikum. You can also send us. Yep. Can you also talk about, is it blind following? Okay, blind following. I see. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Islam obviously started quite clearly when the Prophet ﷺ received revelation and he started to instruct his companions, and the revelation was there for all to see. So we could see that acts of worship play an aspect of the revelation, which is termed as ahkam. We know the Quran is made up of a numerous sort of topics. One is what is referred to as the qissa, which is all the stories of the prophets alayhimussalatu wassalam, of the past. Also stories of the people of the past. We also have in there of what's going to happen in the future. So we have, for example, the discussions of Yawm al-Qiyamah and things like that. So we have the future. We also have discussions around the Prophet ﷺ himself, or things which were going on around at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So we have conversation in there about the Battle of Badr, the Battle of Uhud, and other events that took place as well, like the Mi'raj, for example, and things like that. But we also have is what's termed as the ahkam, yani the rules and regulations that came as well. And there's different opinion amongst the ulama as to how many ayats are actually about the ahkam. So let's just say, broadly speaking, there are several hundred verses which are specific to ahkam. Similarly, the Prophet ﷺ spoke at length on many topics. And again, covering broadly what I've just split the Quran into, similar, you could say there was a similar split. And he also explained ahkam. So we get ahkam from the Quran and we get ahkam from the Prophet ﷺ. Not every hukm in the Quran did the Prophet ﷺ elaborate on. Okay. So for example, when we come across a verse in which the women are told to wait as an iddah, the word which is used is thalathata quru. Okay, the word is used as quru, which is a plural, and there's in terms of conversation or elaboration from hadith, there's very little there. Very little there. So therefore, what happens is the companions, radiallahu anhum majma'een, started to determine their own interpretations of those areas in which the Prophet ﷺ did not clarify. For example, I've already told you, Sayyidina Umar and I think Sayyidina Yasar were traveling, and they got into a state of janaba. And when they got into a state of janaba, then Sayyidina Umar did not do anything. And the other Sahabi, he rolled, and they didn't have any water. So Sayyidina Umar did not do anything. He says, there's no water, I cannot do ghusl. So because I cannot do ghusl, I cannot go into a state of purity. Because I cannot go in a state of purity, I'm not going to pray my salah. Whereas the other Sahabi, he said, in the absence of water, we do tayammum. And if we do tayammum for wudu, where we strike the ground and wipe our face, strike the ground and wipe our arms, then for ghusl, using that analogy, logically, we should be rubbing dust on our whole body. So he rolled about in the sand. Clearly, if they had heard something from the Prophet ﷺ, they would not have gone to using their intellect. They would have said, the Prophet ﷺ said such and such. So what happened then afterwards is they returned to the Prophet ﷺ and they explained the situation to them. And the Prophet ﷺ did not say, what are you doing? Don't ever do anything like that again. If ever some circumstance drops on you, don't just use your own intellect to reach a decision. What you should do is you should come to me, ask me, I will give you the answer. He did not. But he did explain the answer, and he explained how they should do tayammum. Similarly, when the Prophet ﷺ was sending Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, he said to him, to Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal, what would you do when you need to give a ruling? So he said, I will take it from the book of Allah. And he says, and if you do not find the answer in the book of Allah, then what? He says, then I will take it from the words of the Prophet ﷺ. And he says, and if you do not find it from the words of the Prophet ﷺ, what would you do then? So he said, Ajtahidu, yani, I will apply my fiqh understanding and give an answer based on that. And the Prophet ﷺ sort of struck him on his chest to kind of commend him, like, shabash, well done. That's what I was hoping you would say. So therefore, the Prophet ﷺ gives the outline of how both the companions and those who would come after them would reach an answer when a matter befalls them. So when obviously the Prophet ﷺ passed, and even during his life, we saw that companions started to traverse out of Medina. Generally, the two directions they went in, obviously we've seen that Mu'adh ibn Jabal went towards Yemen, but generally speaking, we see some of the companions going towards Persia, and some of the, or used to be Persia, and some of the companions going towards Sham. Okay. And in fact, after Sayyidina Uthman was martyred, we see that the power base ceased to be too much in Medina. And Medina became more like the spiritual home of Islam. And you saw that because of the differences which exist between Sayyidina Ali radiallahu and Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu, and Sayyidina Muawiyah was in Sham and Sayyidina Ali was in Persia, we saw that these two became centers of politics, fiqh, whatever. So now we start to see that certain companions are in Sham, certain companions are in what is around Iraq, present-day Iraq, and some Sahabi, the great majority of the companions, stayed in Medina. So when those companions used to teach, okay, you started to get what was called an Iraqi school, okay, because geographically that's where they were. That's where some of the companions went, a small number of the companions, but that's where they went. You started to get a Sham school, okay, a Syrian school, which was around Misr, Sham, whatever. And you started to get a Medina school, okay, where the majority of the companions remained. After the companions came the Tabi'in. Now we know that Imam Abu Hanifa is considered as a tabi. So he is now in learning from the likes of Sayyidina Ali and other companions who had gone to that part of Iraq to learn the Masail from them. The Sham, obviously, we saw, for example, the companions who had gone towards Sham, they were now teaching, and we know, for example, Imam Shafi and others coming to that part of the world. And then we have, obviously, in Medina, and we have the very famous Imam Malik ibn Anas, who is around Medina area. So they were originally geographical schools. They weren't schools based on individuals. They were geographical schools. And what you find is, obviously, where, for instance, in the Hanafi area in particular, they took a slightly different approach. Okay. They took a more deductive approach in determining their masail. This could be due to maybe the lack of companions who reach there. And maybe because of the lack of companions who reach there, they took that approach. Allahu A'lam. Okay, that's too deep now to go into that for now. You saw, for example, the Shafi school in particular took more of an inductive approach in their school development. And Imam Malik, because obviously the companions were predominantly in Medina and majority of them stayed there, then he gave priority to the acts of the people of Medina. Because his argument was the followers watched the companions watched the Prophet ﷺ. So you cannot get a better school, a better understanding of a school than them. Okay. And obviously we have the Hanbali school as well, but that's kind of more a later, more of an addition to what already existed. I think these three schools have got a very distinct approach that they have. And you had numerous scholars, that were delivering lectures and trying to understand the Masail and developing the Masail and giving answers to people's questions and queries. But they had these three distinct approaches. I know with the Shafi school, you have the old school. That's where the phrase originated from, I guess. And then you have his new school, in which his fatwa are slightly different because he starts to have a slightly more, not, I won't say rational, but a more kind of reasoned approach in his later positions compared to his earlier positions. And there were numerous schools. Why did only four come and remain? That's Allah's will. Okay, that's Allah's will. Usually, how do schools exist, or how does it's perpetuated by the students of that particular teacher? So if that teacher has capable students and that is then developed. So we know, for example, the Hanafi school, why is it continued? The Hanafi school, for example, became the legal school for the Mughal Empire. It became the legal school for the Ottomans. So they actually use the Hanafi. And the reason why the Hanafi school is because it's very practical. Okay, it's very practically focused. It's very, it takes, how you're going to apply this, its application into consideration. So you see that it's very rare that you see other schools being applied in that kind of way. In fact, we see the Shafi ulama in Malaysia will give fatwa on the Hanafi school when the Malaysians travel to perform Hajj, because of the fact that if you touch a woman with the palm of your hand, then according to them, your wudu has broken, whereas according to the Hanafi school, it does not break. Now, it's very difficult in present day and age to perform tawaf without accidentally placing your hand or your palm on a woman, because the women come into the mataf as well. So you can see it's very practical, and also it's been very developed. So I think that that just gives you the basic kind of background. As I said, I checked today on this channel, the at Mufti Amjad channel, you'll see there's a playlist of Muslims in non-Muslim lands, and there's a chapter that I dedicate as well to the legal schools, so you can watch that as well and get more information from there. Now, each school has its own legal theory and its own legal philosophy. That's key to understand. Basically, the mechanisms of deriving the masail, There are mechanisms. It's called usul fiqh. So these mechanisms are the machine in which you put the numbers into and you get an answer. So the istifta, the issue, the scenario, the situation, the question goes into the machine of usul fiqh, boom, 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 and out it spews an answer. Okay, so and that principle which is being used can also be applied in other masail. It's not that for each mas'ala there's a principle. These principles are general rules, general maxims. Like for example, any number multiplied by 0 is 0. That's a general rule you learn in maths. Okay, a lot of the algebraic rules that you learn in maths, they're fixed. Okay, so, and you can't sort of decide, or in this case the answer is going to be 2, but in that case the answer is going to be 0, if both are using the same principle. I'm trying to simplify it as best as I can because I know most of you are not students of the Sharia, so it's going to be really difficult to try to explain a very technical subject to individuals who might not be that clued up on it. But that's the best, and obviously we all go through maths as much as we enjoy it. So maths, that's why I'm trying to use maths as a way to understand it. Okay, so that's the usul al-fiqh, and then the answers come out from that. Now, we've talked about blind following. We've talked about, do you follow a legal school? In reality, most of the people on this particular live, or even watching after, do not follow any legal school. Why? Because they do not know what the Shafi position is. They do not know what the Hanafi position is. They do not know what the Maliki position is. They do not know what the Hanbali position is. And if they say, of course we do, we know that the Hanafi position is that if something exits the orifice, then your wudu breaks. Yeah, you already know that because you read it in an English book somewhere. Or you heard a scholar say it from the minbar. Or you've heard me say it. You don't know if that's the Hanafi school position, because then I will say to you, is okay, where have you read it? Which book did you go to see that this is the Hanafi legal position? You won't even know what the name of the book is. Okay, so we have to try to understand that when we say we follow a school, we actually follow a scholar. Because non-scholars have to follow scholars. When I mean scholars, as in living scholars, you have to follow a scholar. You cannot not follow a scholar, if that makes sense. Why? Because you do not know, as I said there, the positions, the Shafi position on something, the Maliki position on something, the Hanbali position on something. You don't know. So when it comes to, say, for example, let's just say zakat on children's wealth, I say to you now that zakat on children's wealth, if you're a Hanafi, you don't need to give it. How do you know that? You have to accept what I've just said to you. How do you know that? Have you read the Hanafi books? And if you've read Quduri, then did Imam Abu Hanifa write Quduri? Of course he didn't. So the answer is in the name. Imam Quduri wrote Quduri. So where are you going to go? You're going to go where what Imam al-Marghinani wrote in Hidayah. Well, Imam al-Marghinani, who wrote in Hidayah, is not Imam Abu Hanifa. So how is that the Hanafi? So you have to go by a living scholar. That's what I've said repeatedly, is that you have to find a respectable, a reputable, a knowledgeable, a pious scholar living, and you have to connect with him. Usually it should be somebody that you have access to. There's no point connecting to a scholar in, say, I don't know, Zimbabwe, and you have no way of getting in touch with him. What would be the point? It's like, for example, you have a doctor at your GP practice. So there must be the best doctor in the world, but you can't ask questions from the best doctor in the world, because the best doctor in the world could probably be in another country and he's never going to give you his number. So you have to go by your local GP. And you sign up with your local GP, and whatever your local GP tells you, you take it on face value. You don't start questioning him. And he doesn't tell you that he's taking it from this book or that book or the other book or this book. He'll just tell you, this is the issue. So in the same case, when it comes to legal schools, 99% of people do not even know that they're following. They're referred to as army, not army as in ARMA, that I'm going to war. Army, which is the Arabic word Ain Alif Mim Ya, Yani he is of the masses, layperson, which is a phrase that's sometimes used. Okay, this person is a lay person. And what that phrase means, lay person, is this person doesn't know anything about the law. Okay, so that person has to find a religious scholar, living religious scholar, and he takes the answers from him. Okay, he takes the answers from him. Even amongst the scholar fraternity, majority of those scholars will just about know what the Hanafi school is. It's not granted or taken as value that a lot of the scholars will know what the Hanafi position is, because they will be consulting a senior scholar. Okay, they will be they may not tell you because they don't need to tell you, but they will be consulting a senior scholar. Why? Because they want to make sure they're giving the right answers. There's a hierarchy within scholarship. Then you'll get somebody who is muqallid. Yani he is what's referred to as doing taqleed of a particular school. Meaning he is adhering only to one school. And then you may get the absolutely elite, I used the ain there, the absolutely elite ulama that will be doing slight ijtihad in the madhab on contemporary issues. Like we had, for example, when COVID was going around, can we stop praying in the salah? Can we stop praying in the masjids? Can we leave a gap? And will our salah still be valid? Is Jummah still valid? You know, all these queries which the community has never faced or hardly ever faced. And we needed ulama to give us answers. So that not any alim is going to give an answer there. You have to go to the elite ulama that are going to give you answers there, people who are the experts in this area. So for someone who is not a scholar of deen, okay, obviously clearly not of the elite, for somebody who's not even a student of knowledge, how is he going to decide from the four schools whose opinion, where the majority opinion is? He can't even speak Arabic. How is he going to do that? How is he going to do that? I don't even know how he's going to do that. What he's going to do is going to go to English books. Which English books? Which English books is going to go to? Which English books of the Hanafi school is going to go to? Which English books of the Maliki school is going to go? How does he know which one is the mu'tamad kutub in the mazhabs? How does he know that? Majority of ulama who are in one particular legal school don't know the mu'tamad in all the other schools, because they specialize in one school. Specializing in one school is hard enough to then know the positions of the others. So it's an absolute mockery. It's an absolute ridiculous statement. It's absolute gobbledygook. It makes no sense whatsoever. This is sometimes given the view and portrayed as such, especially in the last sort of 100 years or so, where we found, for example, unfortunately, people who claim that they were of particular schools weren't actually following the legal schools because they didn't know, and they started to inculcate strange practices in their faith, in their day-to-day lives. So whether it was the kind of strange, extreme Sufi practices, or whether it was, you know, acts like Jama Dua after Salah, or Jama Dua after Taziyat, and started to do strange, like these acts which there was no precedence for. Then people started to question, oh, what's going on here? Look what the Hanafis are doing. But they're not doing it because they're Hanafi. They're doing it because they're as ignorant as anybody else are. They're not doing it because, oh, this is what it says in my legal school. I'm going to go read Quduri or Hidayah and I'm going to go do that. No, I've just explained to you that majority of the people are armed people, lay people. They're Hamana Foggies. Even if you go up to a person and say, oh, brother, what are you? And he'll say, I'm a Hanafi. You say, okay, what does that mean? Oh, well, I'm Hanafi. What does that mean? Oh, I follow Imam Abu Hanifa. What, in everything? Yeah. Okay, how do you know? How do you know you're following Imam Abu Hanifa? How do you know that? And is the muftabihi in this on the every mas'ala on Imam Abu Hanifa's position? It's not. So, you know, what is it? How do you know that? Oh, well, when I was born, my dad told me. Ah, okay. So you already know because your dad told you. So you would have known otherwise. Maulana tells me that I'm a Hanafi. Oh, okay. So you don't know. Maulana's telling you you're a Hanafi. You know, so this is the issue that we have. Let me just pick up. I think that touches everything. Oh, we've got two Hamzas now. So original Hamza Yunus. If that's touched upon everything that needed to touch upon, then fine. If not, just put your last sort of points. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Why do the schools of thought differ a lot, bearing in mind that they had a lot of examination? Why do the schools of thought differ a lot, bearing in mind they had a lot of examination? I don't understand what that means. A lot of examination. And each scholar would have so many help researching colleagues to look deep into a mas'ala. Sometimes Hanafi and Shafi can be opposite in mas'ala. Yeah, because okay, is that what you mean? Okay. So first of all, it's not school of thought. People say school of thought. Aqidah is school of thought. Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and Hanbali is legal schools, school of law. It's got nothing to do with thought. Aqidah is thought. Okay, these are laws. So don't confuse the two. That's the first thing. Secondly, I mentioned to you right at the beginning that, for example, there might have been some hadith, there are hadith which came to Imam Shafi, rahimullah ta'ala, in which he saw narrations in which he interpreted that when a man touched a lady, then his wudu would be broken. Okay. And that's why he said, therefore, it should break. Imam Abu Hanifa, the Hanafi school, would have said, no, we cannot, that evidence has not come to us. And we have deducted that the only things which violate wudu are when najasat exits out of the body. So they've analyzed all the sources, and they see that blood, when you're cut, breaks wudu. When a woman's hair starts, it breaks wudu. When you go to the toilet and you urinate, it breaks wudu. When you go to the toilet and you defecate, it breaks wudu. So the Imam Sahib says, and the ulama of the Hanafi school say, that when you analyze all this, the conclusion we come to is what exits, and a najasat which exits out of the body is a nullifier of wudu. They then look at this isolated case. Is touching a woman with the palm of your hand najasat exiting from the body? No, it's not. Therefore, it cannot be considered as a nullifier of wudu. That's the usul of the Hanafi school. The Shafi school will say, no, we have a narration, and we're going to accept that narration. So this is why I mentioned to you that the legal theory and the legal philosophy is different. When your legal theory and your legal philosophy is different, then that's the case. Let's take Christianity. Most of the countries in the Western world's laws are based on Christianity. Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Germany, Spain, England, America, all are based on Christianity at the core. But they all are different. American law is not the same as English law. English law is not the same as French law. French law is not the same as Belgium law. Belgium law is not the same as Dutch law. Why not? Because you start to develop, based on your legal theory and your legal philosophy, different positive law. Okay. This is the same in the Islamic world. You see, or the Muslim world. You go all these Muslim countries, and yet you're seeing different. We had that conversation a couple of days back, where you're seeing the way that they are actually applying their legal positions varies. So you got some, like, the Islamic Republic of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. You've got Afghanistan now. You've got Iran. You've got Malaysia, Indonesia. They're all at the core is Islam, all of them. However, look at the way they're understanding it. Why? Because their legal theory and their legal philosophy is different. Are they all looking at the Quran? Are they all looking at the Hadith? There are so many Hadith. There's hundreds of thousands of Hadith. Hundreds of thousands. So therefore, you have to be, it's trying to, you have to be a legal expert to even just get your head around this. Okay, now I've tried my best. Can't say that I've done an excellent task at it, but I've tried my best to kind of cram that in about 20, 25 minutes. You really need to study a course for months in order to really understand what I'm saying. But at least you've kind of got an idea, got a little gist of what I'm trying to say. Okay. So Hamza Yunus, if there's anything that's missing from my discussion there, please do add it. But we're going to just pick up some of the questions. Wa alaikum salam. When giving sadaqah on behalf of someone, living or dead, does the person giving on their behalf also receive the full reward? Or do they need to include themselves in their niyyah at the time of giving the sadaqah? You need to include yourself in the niyyah at the time of giving sadaqah. Okay. because everything is according to your intentions. If you give something and you do not make intention for yourself, then why should you expect reward for yourself? But if you make intention and you make intention for somebody else, but you include yourself in it, you include your mother in it, you include your father in it, you include all the Muslims in it, you include the Prophet ﷺ in it, you include all these people in it. A person owes someone money which is years has passed in which they are no longer in contact. Can that money be paid off as a gift? Yes, it can. And paid off is PAID. Yes, it can be paid off as a gift, absolutely. Or paid, which is again PAID, through somebody else anonymously. Absolutely can do. Also, unless that person knows that you've taken it. If that person knows that you've taken it, then that person should be made aware that you've given it back. Okay, that's important. Also, can that money be given as charity on behalf of the person with the intention that they still owe that person? And if they do meet in the future, then it's paid back to them as well. Yes, that's correct. It can be given into a sadaqah, and with the intention that if I meet the person, then I will give him that. Absolutely correct. You can send messages because the YouTube has been scheduled. Good. Yes, you can also talk about is blind following. So that's the whole point about blind following. Blind following is when you follow somebody without understanding where they are getting their answers from. Okay, without aware of where they're getting their answers from. Why do we blind follow? Because unfortunately, we don't know Arabic. Unfortunately, we haven't studied the deen. And therefore, we have to accept authority. We have no choice but to accept authority. So when someone in a position of authority gives us an answer, we have to accept it. Otherwise, you can easily not accept it, spend the next 8-9 years of your life studying full-time somewhere and graduating, and then obviously you can give those answers yourself because you'll be able to read Arabic. You would have learned what the muftabihi position is in the legal school that you've studied. You also know what the mu'tamad books are, and then you can act on it yourself because you've learned it. Okay, there's no problem with that whatsoever. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Could you give me a recommendation for a detailed book about the Day of Judgment in English, please, as well as a detailed book about the signs of the Day of Judgment? I did a full lecture, Hamza, on the signs of the Day of Judgment. I did it with Al-Balagh. I do not know if they make their lectures available for free or that you have to be a paying student. But I did a full series. I think it was like over 16, 17, 18 weeks. It was a very detailed signs of the Day of Judgment that I did. So if you watch that, as I said, I don't know if it's been made freely available to everybody or you have to be a paying student. I don't know. But I did that with Al-Balagh Academy, I think they're called. So you can find that. Again, Hamza, the problem is I don't read many English books. Okay, I don't read many English books. So it's very difficult for me to make recommendations about English books. I used to read English books back in the day, and I do read the odd English book, but it's very specialized. So books of this kind of nature, I cannot remember. I always look over my shoulder to see if I can find a book that will help Day of Judgment, but I never find one. So that's the problem. They will be, good. Find, ulama that are, mashallah, accepted, strong, mu'tamad, and if they've written on that topic, then share that with me. And if that's fine, I will give you a nod. So please do that, inshallah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi. So you should follow a scholar from any school of fiqh, but one that's knowledgeable. No, the issue you will have, you see, Hamza, is if if you practice, which, I assume you are a grown man. I think the last time you told me you were at college. So you are whatever, 17, 18 years old, maybe 19 years old. So therefore, you've already been praying salah for whatever number of years. You've already been fasting for a number of years. You've already been maybe gone for a pilgrimage. You've done so many things. So you are already now accepting a particular school. So you would carry on with that. It makes no sense to move away from that. And it's not about one that is knowledgeable. You have to first look at who you have access to in your area. Okay. you have to have whoever you have access to in your area. Because if you have no access to ulama, then it's going to be, and similarly, if you're going to be, for example, you live in a Hanafi area, and they're praying the Dhuhr Salah late, for example, and your Asr has started, then you're going to have a problem, aren't you? Or you pray, or you're a Hanafi and you live in a Shafi area, and they pray their Asr early, you're going to have a problem. So therefore, it makes sense that there is people that that practicing the same school in your area. Similarly, your family. So it just makes ease of living. Okay. When I said knowledgeable, this is knowledgeable within that school. Okay, within that school. So if you've been raised as a Hanafi, you've been practicing as a Hanafi, then you find somebody within that school who is knowledgeable. That's what I meant by knowledgeable. Jazakallah, but no problem. Is this your only library, or do you also have one still at the Olive? I remember there was a library. Yes, I still have that one, Iman. So I have this here. I've got some books in the basement, and I have some in the office at Olive, and I also have some in the Dar Lifta. So at the moment they're scattered everywhere. But in this new world we live in, I have a lot on Dropbox. So nowadays we have those kind of connections. Can charity be given on behalf of someone without mentioning their name? Can charity be given on behalf of someone without mentioning their name? For example, intending the person who helped me with something. Why would you not mention their name? I don't get what that means. Mentioning it to the person or mentioning it in your near? Because I think from here it seems to suggest you're mentioning it in your near. Can charity be given on behalf of someone without mentioning their name? For example, intending the person who helped me with something. So you just make it general that, oh Allah, give the ajr of this, give the thawab of this to that person who helped me. Why would you conceal it from Allah? Allah knows who helped you, so just say the name. I'm not understanding the rationale behind it, sister. So if you can just explain the rationale behind it, then I will be able to assist, inshallah. What happens if you grow up Hanafi but you move abroad? You take your Hanafi with you. It depends where you go, obviously. I'm assuming if you go to an area where there's Hanafis, then it's all good. You wouldn't just leave us, you wouldn't just as I said, you have to give a little bit more to that question, please. Another question from a friend. Basically, the question was, why do we need to start with basically? The question was, just the question was, in a gym where music is playing, can you wear headphones which are playing Quran, with the argument that you can't hear the music because the Quran is louder, but also listening to the Quran in the gym because you aren't focusing on it? No, rather than that, maybe put some kind of nasheeds on or something like that rather than the Quran, because when you're working out, you're not really listening to anything, are you? Yeah, well, it depends how you work out. You see, when you work out proper, you're in the zone. You're not really focusing on anything around you. You're just, focusing on the next rep, or focusing on the next step, or whatever it is you're doing. So rather than that, if you want to just, zone out the sound, then, you can have earphones on and, a nasheed or something like that. That will zone it out completely. So there's no problem there. Or better still, you could have FiqHour on a cycle repeatedly, again and again and again, and you can listen to my melodious voice and my melodious tones, and they'll keep you going, because every time you're stopping for a breath, you'll hear Ustaji in the background saying, get up, you lazy so and so, and one more rep. So maybe that will work. Maybe that's what I need to do, is some voiceovers for people's gym sessions. I don't know, it's a new area. Because you aren't focusing on it, I copied and pasted. Story of your life, Hamza. You copied and pasted. Anyway, whilst we get a few more questions on here, we've got another 15 minutes or so left. I'm just going to jump on to I'm always looking for new niches. I'm just going to jump onto the Markuz Lifta wal Qadha, because we had some questions on that earlier. But you chaps and chapesses carry on pausing on there. So what do we have? Salam, I am a pilot. MashaAllah. I've just started. Okay. I hope you're not in the air when you're sending this message. And I wanted to know, how would I fast in Ramadan? Same way we all fast. I want to fast so that I want to fast. So would I open my fast whilst I'm in the air over the country, or do I have to land it land in a country, and then open my fast. The way I understood this, thankfully my wife did the shara for me. The way I understand this is this, this chap, yeah, he's flying a big Boeing 747. He's flying over, he's flying from Heathrow to Dubai, say, and he's over France. And he says to this co-pilot, right, we're going to have to land. And his co-pilot says, but we're nowhere near Dubai. And he says, yeah, I know we're nowhere near Dubai, but I got to break my fast. So let me just park it up down there and I break my fast, because I heard Mufti Amjad say that I can't break it in the air. And when I break my fast, then we'll be back up again. So no worries, I'll just a couple of minutes. But I read it. I obviously read it wrong. So my wife says, no, that's not what he's saying. So I said, what is he saying? She says, what he's saying is that should he break his fast at the time that he's flying over that particular country, or should he reach his destination and then break his fast? I said, but he didn't say that. It's just my logical mind was working and I didn't see that. But anyway, let's take my wife's interpretation of it. So you would break your fast when the Maghrib time would come in wherever you are on the earth. Obviously, because you're breaking your fast, you don't need to have a full 7-course meal or something. You can just take a sip of water. I don't know how. I'm not a pilot, so I wouldn't know if you could just say, just take over the wheel, will you? And then you quickly take a sip of water and have a date or something. I don't know if that's allowed. Or by the rules, you have to both be holding on to the little, whatever it is you hold on to. So I don't know whatever it is, but I can't see how picking either a day or picking something and putting in your mouth is going to be a big problem when you're flying a plane. But I've never flown a plane, so don't take my advice on that. So, but if obviously there's no way you can break your fast, you literally have to have hands on, and you can't touch anything, you can't put anything in your mouth or anything like that whatsoever, then obviously the earliest opportunity you can get to break your fast, because the breaking of the fast isn't as important as praying Maghrib Salah. That's arguably more important. So, because you can always break your fast slightly later, is frowned upon, obviously, but in your circumstances, it's not in your control. But obviously, Maghrib Salah getting delayed is a bigger issue. If a male is extremely sick during his kafara of 60 days and he stops from fasting based on sound medical advice, will he need to start anew or continue from where he left off? When this person is performing kafara is to fast 60 perpetual days, consecutive days, perpetually, without pausing for any reason. This person fell ill and then, taking sound medical advice, did not fast for a few days. Now the brother is asking, the Maulana is asking, that can he now kick off from where he started off, or what? No, he can't. He will have to start anew all over again, because the only person who is excused from this is a woman who is of menstruable age and she menstruates. In that case, obviously, when her menstruation starts, she cannot fast. It's haram for her to fast. So it's not her stopping fasting, it's the Sharia stopping her from fasting. So those days that she is in her haid, she will not fast. As soon as her day of haids are gone, she will restart her fast, and she will pick off from where she left off, because this was the Sharia stopping her, not her stopping herself, if you know what I mean. Is a vaginal examination with a wet or dry finger break the fast? Or is the vagina not considered an entry point to the digestive system, thereby not impacting the fast? The traditional position seemed to be that yes, entry, particularly of a wet finger from the vagina, would be considered as something that would vitiate the fast. However, our understanding of biology clearly shows that that's not the case. It is not an entry point to the digestive system. Therefore, it will not break her fast. Okay, so that's the chap's questions. Let's see if there's anything that came on the Markaz al-Ifta wal Qada ladies group. No, just my wife trying to encourage sisters to sign up as volunteers, mashallah. She's banging the drum. Very little response. I don't know what it is with people who don't, support doing Dini work. You should be all volunteering to do Dini work. If all the people who came on our lives joined and did some Dini work, mashallah, we'd solve the Ummah's problems. We're always standing on the sidelines, aren't we, saying, oh, why is the Ummah like this? Why is the Ummah like that? Why is the Ummah like this? And then you say, oh, brother, what are you doing about it? Jack, I just come on social media and have a little moan. Sister, what are you doing about it, Jack? I just come on to social media, have a little moan. I put up some nice pictures on my Instagram, and I put some nice pictures on my WhatsApp status. That's about it. So how is the ummah going to change? Well, you're going to expect angels to come down and change it for you. So, we all should be volunteering in some capacity. I appreciate you don't all have to volunteer with the projects I'm involved in. You can volunteer with projects you're involved in, but at least volunteer with something. Otherwise, you're just a spectator. And the problem with this ummah is at the moment is we're all spectators. Nobody's on the Maidan anymore. How do we pronounce the name of someone who memorized the Quran? Hafiz or Hafiz? It is Hafiz. Okay, Hafiz. Fa'il. Yani somebody who has memorized the Quran. And obviously depending on that person's name. If it's a lady, a female, then it's Hafidha with a ta marbuta on the end. So like Hafiza. Okay, like your name is Rahima, but a male version of your name would be Rahim. Okay, so there's a ta at the end of it. Is this who I think it is? Let's give him a wave. If not, my apologies. So we've answered Sajid Bhai's question that came on here. Has that dealt with that, Sajid Bhai? If not, please do, elaborate further on that. Facebook, that's all done. There's nothing on there. We're all spectators on there. Just talking about spectators. Let me just see that if I've answered all the questions on the YouTube. That's that. Yes, that's all done. I don't think we have a theme for tomorrow. So if somebody has a theme, now is a good time to share it. I've always encouraged the sisters to step forward and suggest a theme, because all the themes suggested so far, the last 10 or whatever we've done, or the total of the 10 that we've done or whatever we've done, have all been chaps, which is all fair and good. Not a problem. I got nothing against that. But it's always good for sisters also to be able to suggest a theme, which I can then make a focus for tomorrow's Fiqh hour. For those who haven't been following for the last week or so, what we do is the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we have a theme in which we discuss around that. We prefer questions around that theme. And then after that, it's open to all. And then we can touch upon all miscellaneous questions which are coming in. So obviously today was about the 4 legal schools and why we should adopt in practicing the law which comes from there. So I will give a couple of minutes for any lastminute.com questions or any suggestions for the theme. Did we do the theme about the workplace, or did I miss that one? No, we've not done the theme about the workplace. So have you sent that to me? Did you WhatsApp that to me, Hamza? No, you didn't WhatsApp that to me. So could you do me a favor, please? Could you just type it now on here? Type it on here so that I can read it out. Because what happens is we do a little short. So when I sort of say, tomorrow, I'm not going to say tomorrow, I'm going to say today, or no, I'm going to have to give the date. The reason why is because by the time I get it, it's in the morning, and then everybody's saying I'm saying tomorrow, and I'm not saying tomorrow because I mean today, because I've got it in the morning. So, that's something to bear in mind. So yeah, please do, Hamza, put it there with a few questions as well and queries, then send it to me as well. So at least we can do that for tomorrow. So at least I have a little kind of blurb and a little, few questions around the topic just to make life easy. Does Olive Lantern Trust do Qurbani? Yes, inshallah, we will be doing Qurbani this year. So please do look onto that and check it. We are also looking at doing Dam for those people who have incurred a penalty but have obviously left Makkah. We're looking at sourcing that as well, inshallah. So there are a few things, and also we're looking at doing Qurbani in the Haram as well. So there's a few things which will be coming over the coming days and weeks. Obviously, with Ramadan around the corner, the focus is going to be pretty much on Ramadan, zakat side of things, and all the rest of it. But once that sort of, and our projects that we've got on Olive Lantern Trust, the 3-4 projects, the key projects that we're focusing on, but there are other projects on there as well. If people need to give fidya's on there as well. If people need to give kafara, that's on there as well. So go to that and go on from there. I have a theme exploring the chain of narrations for hadith, why the system exists, how it functions, and its benefits. That's good. I like that, Iman. How Muslims should act in the workplace, dealing with prayer and explaining it to non-Muslims, shaking hands, alcohol and other corporate gatherings. Okay, so Iman, because Hamza had that from yesterday or the day before, we'll do that first, and then inshallah the next one. I'm hoping, obviously, I'm here with you tomorrow, and then on Saturday we'll do the other one. So let me do my little blurb, people. So inshallah tomorrow, and tomorrow meaning Friday, I was about to say the 30th of February, because 29th of February threw me out. The Friday, inshallah, or let me just word it in a different way. Rather than saying tomorrow, today, Friday, and the date, let me say this. In the next fiqh hour, okay, we will be talking about, or the theme that we have selected is how Muslims should act in the workplace. What we're going to explore and discuss is how do we deal with prayer, salah, explaining it to non-Muslims, the times when we're fasting, Christmas, going down to the pub for a Christmas do, shaking hands, alcohol, and other corporate gatherings as well. So that will be our focus in our next session, inshallah. So please do generate questions around that topic, because it's more important that we focus on that particular theme first, and then we can elaborate on that. And what to do is, Hamza, do me a favor, if you can screenshot both yours and Iman's and send it to me, then we'll have that. Haris, mashallah, has come now. He says salam. I say wa alaikum salam. Just as we're leaving the madrasa, he's now giving us salam, mashallah. Timing to perfection. Okay, but whilst you're here, Haris, we'll give you a few more minutes, because you may have a burning question. I'm just going to check a few things. Iman is going to send me that, inshallah. And like clockwork, mashallah, he has. Alhamdulillah. He's stalking me now on WhatsApp. Better quickly close it. All right. Okay, so Haris has come. He's apologized. He's given a salam, but I don't think he has a question. Couple of more minutes. I will give, in case, because I do, my thing lags a little bit as well, because there's 4 devices. I tried adding you on LinkedIn, trying to get access to your network. Ooh, you're on to me. I do pop in and out of LinkedIn, but alhamdulillah, because I get quite a few people sort of connecting, I tend not to connect. But I think you can still follow me, can't you? Even though we're not connected. I'm sure that's the case. I can send a WhatsApp. I found it. Oh, Iman, you're a naughty boy as well. He sent it now, Iman. Don't worry about it. He sent it. Hamza sent it. It's all good. Haris, you've not got a question? You just popped in to give salam. Is that it? Not a problem if that's the case. Like I was saying, it dropped. So the Instagram live has dropped. Share with everyone. Why does that do that? So you can practice it. I didn't know that. So that's that. So that's gone. And the other thing with Instagram is, when your live finishes, it doesn't upload the video like it does on YouTube onto Instagram. So it just disappears, which is a bit poor, if you ask me. But I guess then it'd be called YouTube, wouldn't it? Possibly. Okay, looks like I think we're all dry. So inshallah, the next session is going to be, hold on, just when we're about to close. Adam is riding a train 220 meters long. Oh man, what is this? At a speed of 60 miles an hour. What time will it pass a man who is running at 6 kilometers an hour in the opposite direction? What? Right, Harris, you're excluded, man. What's the analytics on terms of YouTube and Instagram? I haven't a clue. I'm only watching it. I haven't a clue, Hamza. You'd have to check that. Don't give him flashbacks. Khair, inshallah. On that note, wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.